Okay, welcome to a special edition of Friday Facts. So excited to have my friend and colleague and North Carolina Serious Illness Coalition member with us, Betsy Barton. I'm excited. Betsy Barton is part of the community engagement team at Transitions LifeCare in Raleigh. And you have heard me love on Transitions in the past, since it is the hospice that took care of my mom and took care of me. Transitions with us and Betsy in particular. Betsy plans and conducts interactive education on a variety of topics for clinical and community audiences. I knew Betsy before coming to Transitions. She worked at the Duke Institute on Care at the End of Life and the Duke Inequalities Program, and on the Duke research teams related to serious illness, caregiver issues, caregiver stress, medical decision making, and race based differences regarding decision making at the end of life. There's a lot there. I love on Betsy because she's also a graduate of the same program I am from UNC School of Public Health. Woo! She has her master's in public health. And I'm so excited. She's going to tell us all about a special project I have known about and admired for years. And it is the Unbroken Circle, a toolkit for congregations around illness, end of life, and grief. That's enough of the introduction because I want to hear from Betsy. Welcome, Betsy.
Thank you so much. Thanks for that lovely introduction, Heather. So, yes, it's true. The Unbroken Circle had its origins at the Duke Institute on Care at the End of Life. Uh, the book existed before I came onto the scene, and I was there just for a short time. I was there for a couple of years before they shut the doors to the Institute, but when they did, they said, well, you created this workshop based on the book. Feel free, you can go ahead and keep using it. So what I did back then was a tiny mere shadow of what exists now. But so basically, out of the book that you named, we created what is now we're calling creating an unbroken circle of care in your faith community.
Oh,
So um, we we stay away from the word congregation because that often creates assumptions about what faith communities are welcome, and our reality is that we welcome all faith communities. And there have actually been places, times when I've done this training in other states where we had communities that were faith community broadly defined. So once we had a group of retired nuns who lived in community, and they said, we need this in our community. And so they just created adaptations as they went along. So
I
we
love that.
welcome all communities
You
to
know,
come to our training.
great, because as you know, with our advanced care planning work, we go into a lot of churches, but we want to be open to all faith communities. And so we try to use the word congregations instead of churches. But I see
Mm.
exactly what you're saying. I love the broader term of faith communities. I mean, we want to be as inclusive as possible, especially from an education and outreach standpoint. So what you name it matters. So I'm making note. I like that. Thank you.
Good, good. Um, yeah, and that's really the gist of what this is all about, is reaching people in the communities where they are. Um, so basically, let me just back up a little bit and
No,
say
I was
what
going to
it
say, what
is.
is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So creating an unbroken circle of care in your faith community is the way we're doing it now is a 4-part series. So say you're a member of a faith community, and I'm a member of a faith community. Our faith communities are going to send a team of 2 to 3, maybe 4, and then sometimes they add people, but we're going to send a team to represent our faith community at this training. And there's 4 trainings that happen over a 6, 7 month period. So and it somewhat parallels the original book that was published back in, I think, 2010. Um, but really, it's morphed a lot since then. But the 4 sessions roughly follow the trajectory of serious illness care, caregiving and caregiver support, death and dying, and then grief and bereavement. And the common theme throughout this whole class or community series is about taking the information and taking it back to the faith community in the way that will serve that faith community. So what your team does might look totally different than what my team does, because maybe my congregation has uh, 17 active members and yours has 2,500 or
Mhm.
3,500. So we provide the information, you bring the faith and the scriptures and the spiritual and religious beliefs and apply the information in your context in a way that works for you. So, and in addition to providing information, we also, each team will has a coach. So in between sessions, they meet with the coach and say, okay, so how did the homework go? Because we give you homework. And how did it go? What's standing in your way? What's working well? What are some roadblocks that we could talk through? Um, and people universally find that helpful for different reasons. Some folks are like, hey, I just love the accountability that someone's going to ask us, did you do what you said you were going to do? And
Mhm.
others say we needed to help problem solving. Um, and others, say we've been meaning to do this for ages. We just didn't know where to start. And you all gave us somewhere to start. So we have people start at the basics, like do a demographic assessment of your congregation. Well, half the folks, if we say that, they're like, I don't even know what you mean. But we walk you through it. How many folks over 85 do you have? Who's showing up at services? Who haven't you seen in a while? What are you doing to reach them? What about the caregivers? What about the caregiver support? Um, so we get people thinking,
Mhm.
and then we provide the information. And, when I say provide information, a lot of people are automatically going to think, oh my God, they sit in a room for 7 hours with PowerPoint presentations one after the other.
Yes, that's exactly
No.
what but
If
I
we
know you
show
better than that, but that is where my mind goes.
if we show a PowerPoint, it's 10 minutes max.
Mhm.
So, but we have a lot of interactive exercises. And every time we use the tools, we talk about them on a meta level. So maybe we're doing the Go Wish card game with the participants in the class, and then we're saying, so imagine using this in your faith community. Who would you do it with? What would that look like? Even if we do a photo, we use photos as an introduction in one of our warm-ups. We say, what if you had a photo set like this? Because you can, ours is available online for free. You can download it and copy the photos. How could you use this in your senior group, in your youth group, in your Bible study, in your Torah study, whatever? Um, so we're always aware of providing the information along with tools that people can take back to their congregation and use.
Mhm.
Because I say, if you come out of the room saying, wow, they had a lot of great information, I had a really good time, and that's it, then I give us an F,
Okay.
because it's all about, did you go back and use it in your congregation?
I struggle with that too. There's a difference between entertaining and educating and then empowering, really doing more action oriented so people get it that they can go and use it. So, really good point. All
Yeah.
right, keep going. And
And
then I have a lot of questions.
okay, I'll say a few more things. Um, you just gave me a great segue into saying that overall goal of our class is to change the culture of the congregation from being reactive to being proactive. So, I'm quoting a pastor out in Indiana where we did the training. He said, I thought we did pretty well on taking care of people after they experienced a serious loss. But then we lost my mother-in-law, and I learned how far short of the mark we are.
Interesting.
Wow. So our goal is to change from a model of like, okay, we had a death, we brought them lasagna, or as you said the other day, green bean casserole.
When I went through the training, it was you can't have everyone showing up with a green bean casserole. Like even
Yeah,
the organizing of the food is a thing.
yeah. And so what we do is we tend to, ply people with food for about a month, and then they're on their own. So we want people to take a more proactive approach. Like we know people are going to experience loss. What are we going to do to support them? We know that someone who has a family member with Alzheimer's disease or another dementia is having a tough time. How can we support them on an ongoing basis? So, so that's what it's really about. And
Are
we have a lot of fun. We laugh, we cry, we have tissues out all the time, but we also have some people sometimes just laugh so much they cry. Yeah.
so you're also I feel like we're doing a lot with the E words, entertaining and education and empowerment, and then I think that goes to emotion. You're bringing
Mm.
up the emotion because then it sort of is real. Okay, so now I'm gonna um, ask all kinds of logistic questions. So how do people sign up? Like, how do they find out about it? I'll do it all. How do they find out about it? Who do they decide to send from their faith community? How much do they pay? Like, how do people first get involved and identify who makes up a team? And like, how
Great
many teams
questions.
is bunch? Oh, I just keep going and going. So it's like, there you go. That's a very
Yeah.
rapid question.
Okay. Well, I'll address those so far, then you come up with more. So in terms of how to sign up, somebody could just call the Transitions LifeCare switchboard and say, could you connect me to the community engagement department? I want to learn more about the unbroken circle. And then we'll send you a brochure in the mail. We should have it on our website, but we don't have it on our website right now. So
Here we go.
that's going to be first on my checklist, um, is to get that up on our website so folks can see the brochure. But we are offering our next series starting in late September 2025. So we meet in September, one day, Friday. You have a nice leisurely start, come at 8:30 for coffee and some breakfast. We started at 9 o'clock, and then you're out the door by 4 o'clock. So each session is on a Friday like that, and they're spaced out about every 1 or 2 months. We give a little buffer around the holidays because nobody does anything in the last half
You're
of
so busy
December.
doing everything that we do nothing when it comes to certain productivity. But yes, okay. So then
Yeah.
you September and
So
then what, January it picks up again?
September, November, January, and late February are the four this year. Um, And in terms of how to form a team, a lot of people will say, oh, well, we already take care of death and dying. We have a Stephen ministry program. I'll say, great. That's a program that's really good for individuals who are grieving. They provide great training and ongoing continuing education, but that's just about grief. Imagine if there was a Stephen ministry for every phase of serious illness, death and dying, caregiving and caregiver support. That's what the unbroken circle is.
Hmm.
So, and we want people, and then another thing people often say is, well, our leadership, our pastors are so busy. I
Yeah.
say, great. This is actually designed to engage people at the congregation level.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will send a staff member, or if they do have a membership of 3,500, maybe they have a bunch of staff people, and then maybe a staff member will be part of their team, but they don't drive it.
And a number of congregations I see have specific ministries, like the health ministry or the health and wellness or health education. So it's like this is not another thing to pile on to the main leader, but that this is both a volunteer activity as well as a way for other members to take on some leadership. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's right. And, I would describe it the same way we describe that hospice is an extra level of care in addition to other healthcare providers. The unbroken circle is an extra layer of support um, for the whole congregation. Like a lot of times people are doing this anyway, like you point out, they'll have a care team, but they won't know how to solve a certain problem,
Hmm.
or they will feel uncomfortable with something like, how can I talk to someone who's grieving because I don't have a therapy license? Or what about HIPAA? Well, HIPAA doesn't apply to a congregation. Common sense and common courtesy and
Yeah.
privacy apply in a conversation, in a congregation, but not HIPAA. That's
Yes.
for healthcare organizations. So some of that is just giving people permission, like, you get to talk to people who are in crisis. Be
Mhm.
yourself, talking to them as themselves. And, here's a few things to keep in mind.
Well, and I want to go back to the logistics for a second, but something that I remembered, I was in a similar kind of training because you and I both know James Brooks and Project Compassion, and it was connected to the Unbroken Circle, and I was in other support team training. It also helps establish boundaries. It's not just about helping, but where it's crossing over. If folks start to say, well, really, I need financial support or I need a lot of hands-on medical support. If is that a part of it too? Like where it makes sense to have support and where it's okay to say that's outside of what we can take on.
Yes, that is such a great point, and that is a very common theme. Yeah, so we might we use a lot. We actually the book that our this program is based on is actually edited by James Brooks.
I know.
Um,
I love him.
and so we do teach aspects of support teams, which his old organization that you used to work with too, Project Compassion, used to teach about, and some of those guidelines are things like you can form a team to take care of a congregation member, but you don't administer medication.
Mhm.
You don't pay their bills. You don't lend them money. You do
Mhm.
things that work well for folks who are on the support team, like Bill or Annie loves to mow a lawn on Saturday morning, and after they mow theirs, they'll come over and mow the other person's too.
Mhm.
Great. Somebody likes to cook. Okay, wonderful. Someone likes to do a little light tidying around the house. Okay, good.
Mhm.
But there are definitely, that's some of the things we teach. And when people have a sense of, oh, you mean I get to create boundaries? Then that allows them to go forward and offer what they have to offer without that fear of, like, I don't want to mess up.
Exactly. So for the teams, and that was helpful. It was one of the questions that, like, can people start or teams start at any time? And you helped to define that. Like, this is a set program. It starts in September. So if people reach out to you in March and April, you'll take that information and get them signed up. But it's that it happens once a year because you don't want people to start at different times in the flow, right? They can't start in November on stage two. They have to start stage one. So it is a formalized program that people are joining.
It is a formalized program, the way that we call that this one, the long series, the
Mhm.
Cadillac version. So, yeah, it starts in September because we're creating a cohort of folks that they bond, they're connected.
I'm
Uh,
sure.
Last week, we showed a video that we just created called An Active Love, narrated by Nina Freelon, and several alumni of the courses came, and it was so fun to have people walk in the room. Everybody was like, "Oh, hi!" I mean, we bond. We spend 4 whole days together. We hear each other's roadblocks. We help solve problems. And that's one of the joys of the class is we may have one congregation who never heard of Stephen Ministry. And they're
I was
like,
at before I was gonna ask you to for our listeners that may not, know what Stephen Ministries I don't wanna tangent, but just yeah, what does that mean for
yeah,
folks who aren't
super
familiar?
quick. Stephen Ministries is an established program to provide one-on-one grief counseling. So it's peer to peer.
Mhm.
So, the Stephen minister is not a trained therapist or they're a peer person who's gone through some training, gets information about boundaries, what to do, what not to do to support another grieving person.
Hmm.
And it's a great program, and a lot of people have gotten a lot out of it on both ends as both the care provider and the care receiver. Um, and then so that's one of the joys of our program is there's cross fertilization between um, the faith communities that come in. Oh, we didn't know what that was. And there's a lot of differences between black faith communities and predominantly white faith communities in terms of information that people have, um, both information that they've been exposed to or how the information lands, how it's accepted culturally within the context of their community. And so that cross fertilization is, we build that in.
Well, and I'm sure it's that everyone is part of that all teach, all learn, everyone contributing. And I was thinking for those communities that are already doing some things, I think of this as an in addition to, as opposed to an instead of. It's just
Absolutely.
value
Yeah.
add. So
Yes.
so that goes to another one of my, I put it under the logistical questions or the process. When you mentioned that reunion that just happened, when you're doing this series, how many different congregations or communities generally are part of this program?
That's a great question. We are right now, we offer it at our Transitions LifeCare campus. So we're somewhat constrained by the size of our auditorium,
Yep.
which, when you think auditorium, you think rows of seats bolted to the floor, but it's not like that. It's more like a fellowship hall, a big
Mhm.
open space. So we arrange it in clusters and for maximum conversation. But our max right now is 12 teams in each series,
I'm
just
doing
because.
So 12 times 4, so 48. So that's it. So you can have up to like plus you. Did I do that math right? So there could be around 48, 50 people. That's a lot more than I said thought you would say. 12 different teams. I thought you were going to say like 3 or 4 or 5 communities. So you can have 12 different faith communities.
And some of them have only two members. I think our largest was six because people kept hearing about it and they wanted to join the team. And, we're softies. So we say, oh, sure, come on. No,
Because
I mean,
generally,
we're not softies, but we welcome that enthusiasm. So
because generally they're teams of 4. I get so into the
generally they're teams
I go
of,
for 6. Yeah. I'd rather have 6 than 2 because in case there's some fall off or sharing of responsibilities, but
yeah, people, somebody's bound to go on vacation, even though we say check your schedule ahead of time. But if you're signing up in July for something that lasts until next February, life happens. So
exactly.
most teams have, I would say the average is 3 people.
Okay.
And you asked before about cost.
Yes,
So
I was going to say that. Thank you.
in the brochure, people say, well, how much does this cost? Because they think it's going to be $1,000. Well, we ask $100
Oh,
and we barely collect that. Actually, we're not very good
a
at that
hundred
part.
dollars for that team of 4 to go through the whole, 6 months
For
of.
4 full days of training, including an amazing lunch every time. We
So that
like to be
$100 basically just covers the food, I would think.
not even. Not really not even.
Doesn't
Yeah,
really cover it for you, but oh, so that's so $100 for the team to participate.
that's right.
And is that a
And
struggle for some communities?
well, we don't even ask for the money. If people come with a check, don't let my CEO or my CFO hear this. Sorry, Steve,
We're
but
recording this, but we'll pretend.
we we want people to show up. That's the most important thing. And sometimes we had a faith community last time who said, well, we brought 5 members, so we're going to pay you a little extra,
Oh,
which was very sweet.
nice.
But we do this because we want to get the information out.
And is this funded? Is this the operational support come now from Transitions? Or do you have grant and or clearly Transitions is a big part of that. Do you also have additional external grant funding?
Well, right now it's started with, at this moment in time, we do not have additional grant funding for this program. We do have funding for other parts of what community engagement does, like, for instance, doing advanced care planning workshops out in the community like you do. So we do have funding for that. So that helps support the community engagement department. And then we have a couple of other proposals out. So keep your fingers crossed for us. We're still waiting to hear from the big one. And then another thing that we do is I don't want folks to walk away thinking we only have the Cadillac version. So we also have the Toyota, the Camry version and the Toyota version, or the Corolla version, where we'll do smaller workshops that we're calling at this point circlettes. So smaller
I love
unbroken
that.
circles.
Do they
So
still go the same amount? Well, you tell me, do they still go the same amount of time, or is it more like a go in one time and provide training?
it's right now our vision is it's going one time, and we're in the process of designing the content, the curriculum for those. You can't squeeze uh whatever it is, 36 hours worth of content into a 4-hour class. But what we want to do is take some snippets of content, like, okay, this one, let's talk about serious illness care. This one, let's talk about caregiving and caregiver support. Um, we want to make it so that if they go to that one, it's not repetitive to come then to the larger class. We're
Right.
not designing it as a lead in to the larger class, but I certainly hope that will happen. Mostly we're designing that way for purposes of access. So
Sure.
we can go out to Nash County and do a 4-hour workshop. And folks, they might not know us as well in Nash County because, for instance, we're just starting reaching out to Nash and Wilson. So they don't know us, as my mom would say, who is originally from Nash County. They don't know us from Adam's House Cat. So to ask, say, hey, we want you to drive to Raleigh 4 days, that's too big of an ask. So we'll say, hey, let's come and we'll do a shorter workshop for you, get you to fall in love with this. Because, once people see the content, hear the content, this, people are like, I mean, I hear this all the time. No one told me this. How come we didn't all learn this information?
And
Or I wish I knew this when my grandma was sick. Right?
people
You
want
hear,
more. Yeah, and well, you know me, I love food references. So it's sort of like you do the appetizer or the charcuterie board version, and then you have the full meal, the four-course meal version. But yes, I see it all the time. We go into congregations to talk about advanced care planning, and then at the end, and people are a little hesitant or like, why are we, but then they're like, oh my gosh, we talk about this now and this now and this now, and can you come back? And so you establish that relationship. Well, and then and I know you mentioned North Carolina, but you do get requests, or I know you used to, from other states. So is that still happening, or will you still get in the car or get on a plane if someone pays?
Mhm. Well, Transitions LifeCare now has the ability, the permission to use the curriculum anywhere in the state. Our service area is a 10 county area. Basically, every county circling Wake County that touches the border of Wake County, that's one of as part of our service area. In addition, I think it's Chatham County that is a little bit out. But it's a 10 county area. So uh, Transitions Life Care could offer the curriculum in other parts of the state, but hasn't done that so far. And then in terms of other places in the country, then it is also possible to do the unbroken circle there, but that wouldn't be through Transitions Life Care. That would be through another organization.
Well, this is probably a good time to throw out contact information. So, what is I should have this in front of me, but I don't want to say it wrong. The website. So, if people want to learn more, I know you're going to put it on the website, but at least they can call or start. What is the website for transitions?
Well, the easiest way to contact us is just to call the switchboard because they will immediately send us an email. They're
Okay, well, then first,
so great at
now you're going to have to give the telephone number
I
because
will. So the telephone
don't be
number is
standing by. I feel like like a phonathon. Call us now.
1-800-828-0890.
Yeah.
828 That's one. Actually, sorry, it's 919-828-0890.
Uh-huh.
That's the
919-828-0890 or 0890. And then
yeah,
your website, since if people are watching this, they are comfy with websites because they're watching
yeah,
this online.
true. And our website is www.transitionslifecare.org.
Great,
So common typos are to leave out the S. So make sure you say transitionslifecare.org.
great.
And there's also a mechanism on our website where it says contact us. If somebody fills out that contact thing, again, they will forward it immediately to the community engagement department. And so, within hours, it's super quick.
Well, Betsy, this is wonderful. Before we end, any last comments or bits of information that I know I sort of pummeled you with questions, but anything else you wanted to share about Unbroken Circle? And I should say that we have future videos folks will see all about an act of love and the video and other efforts you're doing with transitions. You're one of our multiple comeback guests. So anything that was not said
Great.
articulately, but anything else you want to share about Unbroken Circle?
I think we covered things pretty well, but I do want to just express my gratitude. I'm so appreciative of you and the work we do. I'm so glad that we've reconnected after, you know,
Like
our paths
2006,
crossed.
2007. I mean, it was a long time
It
ago.
was a long time ago, and here
Long
we
brown
are.
hair ago for me.
Yep, and here we are still kicking. So I'm so glad to collaborate with you, and thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about the Unbroken Circle.
Thank you so much, Betsy. And thank you, watchers, to Friday Facts.